Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of Discover Self-Care through Ayurveda. This session will be recorded. If you do not wish to appear in the recording, please make sure your audio and video are disabled at all times. Anything put in the chat box will not appear in the recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and Maggie, you are free to take over.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Brooke. My name is Maggie Gruskin, and I am excited to be with you today, as always, for our second Wellness Wednesday of the month gathering. I am so grateful to Brooke and Panaga and the San Antonio Public Library for this community event for adult programs. And for today's session, we're going to be focusing on food as medicine. So for those of you that have not joined us for previous sessions, I want to encourage you to check out the San Antonio Public Library YouTube channel, and Brooke will share some of that info in the chat so you can watch the previous sessions to dive into some of the details, which we'll probably move through very quickly today. So to begin with, I'm here as a wellness speaker and guide. As a disclaimer, I'm not here to prevent, cure, or treat any diseases. And we are here to really look at educating ourselves on ways to self-care and become more self-aware of how to stay healthy with our daily self-care habits. So welcome. My background is in yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda. I've been serving as a co-chair of the Happiness Science Committee with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine for a few years, and now I am serving as secretary of the Positive Health and Wellbeing Division of the International Positive Psychology Association. And my passion and purpose is to bring these two disciplines, the emerging evidence-based sciences of health and positive mindset, together so we can all figure out how we can show up every day as our best self. The tools you'll learn today are around the idea of food. And it's my pleasure to dive into looking at self-care through Ayurveda. So for those of you that are brand new to Ayurveda, let's go ahead and start the chat. Please share with us where you are calling in from. A lot of times we have people coming in from other states and even other countries. So go ahead and type in the chat as I get our presentation loaded. Where are you joining us from? And if this is your first time that you are joining us. Awesome. We've got some people from San Antonio. And let me just get this session started. Perfect. So as we continue to monitor the chat and where people are from, let's see, where is that chat from? San Antonio, first time, welcome. We love newbies. So we're going to go through some of the basics of Ayurveda today. So let's get going with that. Today is part 4, food as medicine. Welcome to our monthly wellness presentation on Ayurveda. So as an overview, today's food as medicine, and please mark your calendars to join us next month for May 12th as we dive deeper into food as we look at doshas and the specific 6 tastes. So please make sure to join us then. And as always, I love to take a pause. I call this the pause and pivot moment. So if we can just make sure that we are present as we gather together today to discuss you and your path on well-being and wellness. And understanding that many factors play into that, including external affairs and effects that are happening around the world. So what is happening in your world? Let's just get present with how are you being impacted with some of the global things going on with the continuing pandemic, civil unrest in some areas, financial uncertainty, and just a lot of news. So how is this sitting with you? How is this affecting with you? Being present, being mindful that stress is a huge contributor to many factors of our well-being, including sleep and being mindful in how we make choices. So yes, civil unrest is very upsetting. So let's just take a breath and then let go and release all we cannot control and focus on what is within our control. So a poll question for everyone. Let me know how you're feeling today. Now that we've kind of seen our external environment, what's impacting us, what's contributing to our overall stress and mind state, please take a moment to just ask yourself, how am I showing up today? In my energy level, do I feel calm and grounded? Or am I more in the excited states? Like feeling nervous, uncertain, maybe anxious. However you feel, what's the one word? You can go ahead and share that in the chat if you like. What is the one word that really applies to you right now? Yes, a lot of anxiety, a lot of movement, right? And some are showing up calm. Please share that energy with us. Wonderful, connected, beautiful. And some people have done meditation. So already choosing and showing up in different states of energy. So that's the first step in our journey into Ayurveda and self-care with Ayurveda. Awareness of self and then our choices is fundamental to our approach with Ayurveda. Wonderful. And somebody's hungry because it's lunchtime. So please honor that. If this is your lunchtime, please fill your bellies with good food. So as we look at this idea, let's go ahead and now, if you like, I invite you to close your eyes and let's take some breaths. So if you're sitting, please make sure that you're sitting upright, your spine is tall, top of your head leaning skyward. And just take a nice long exhalation, letting everything go, feeling your body weight ground you into your seat, whether it's the chair or the floor. And if you like, I invite you to bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly as we connect our present mindfulness to our present state of how we are showing up right now. Inhaling normally and relaxed. And as you exhale, bring in that intention to let go of any of that anxious feeling. Just relax, let go, exhale a little bit longer than you're used to, releasing what does not serve you. And then relax, just let the breath come in on the next inhale without any effort. And taking a pause at the end of that inhalation and feeling yourself full of all the goodness and hope. And now on your next exhalation, really release with intention all that no longer serves you. And now just take a couple of relaxed breaths on your own. If you want your eyes still closed, ask yourself, what is the number one thing that can make the biggest impact on your health right now? And as that message is coming to you, now begin to envision what is the one small action that you can take today that will be in support of that goal, that vision for your health and wellness. And then releasing your hands and coming back to present, mindful, awakened awareness. As we begin our journey together, have in mind, what would you like to explore? What is the one question you would like answered in our class together? Write that down and share that with us in the chat through the class. Wonderful. And if you registered in advance, Brooke included in the morning reminder email today the 2-page handout. So if you have it, great. If not, you can look at it later and you can just follow along. It's just a simple way to keep notes on some of the key points to take away from each class. So let's go ahead and begin with the general concept of Ayurveda and how it relates to yoga. So how many of you are yogis or yoginis? How many have done yoga on the mat? Just type it in. Yes, and maybe the type of yoga, the style of yoga, because that's also very important. Perfect. Yeah, and type in the type of yoga if you know what style you've done before. Okay, so Ayurveda is the science of life, and it is a holistic approach to whole person well-being. And it's estimated to be about 5,000 years old. But guess what? It's known as the sister science to yoga. So if you've practiced yoga, I really encourage you to consider taking your yoga off the mat and begin to explore how to bring yoga into your day-to-day living through the practice of living with self-care and the Ayurvedic tips. So what you should know about Ayurveda is that you don't have to be vegetarian or even like Indian food, even though I love it. And you don't have to practice yoga. You can find another way to be mindful and grounded. You don't have to learn how to speak Sanskrit or know these crazy languages. But what you do need are three things. You do need to care about your health. You do need to want to be in harmony and balance with your essential nature. And you do need to have this goal, a vision of who you are as your best self in body and mind and spirit. So let's continue with Ayurveda, known as the science of life. It's a 5,000-year-old consciousness. What does that mean? It means that it starts with self-awareness. It's a complete, integrated, holistic system which focuses on bringing back the wholeness of you so that we are working in a vertically integrated manner, aligning our daily choices and habits with our optimal vision and dreams of how healthy, happy, and prosperous we can be in life. It really focuses on consciousness. And Einstein would completely agree with Ayurveda because, as he said, you can't solve a problem at the level of awareness in which it was created. So I invite you to think of Ayurveda as this wonderful new way to explore who am I in my current state of understanding myself and consciousness in general. What is my mindset? And how can I flip the switch so I can utilize all my tools and make better choices for a healthier me? Okay. And the amazing and fun part about Ayurveda, I just love, is that it really focuses on using the five senses. So if you imagine yourself, if you want to close your eyes and imagine that you're this potato head, okay, we're mostly a big potato head with little feet. Why? Because most of our lifestyles are sedentary now, right? Most of us don't work in the land or with our hands. We work from the head up. So Ayurveda is a perfect philosophy, an applied way to recognize that we can't live from the head up. We have to live fully embodied. And it recognizes that there's wisdom in every single cell in our body. There's not just one brain. We have millions and millions of brains in our body, but are we using them? So imagine the potato head, and we have straws for all of our five senses. And so Ayurveda says that we get nourished, we get sustainment and fuel our mind and body through not just what we eat in our food, but amazingly so from what we hear, what we smell, what we see, of course, what we taste, and then what we touch. So now begin to imagine when you ask yourself the question, who am I? And how is that going to impact this choice that I'm making with food or anything else? Ayurveda and yoga both help us to answer that amazing question through the different stages and states in our life. So I encourage you to continue to ask that question, who am I? So let's explore the foods and doshas in answering that question. So in Ayurveda, some of the key concepts we'll review very quickly are the five elements. So the five universal elements include space, air, fire, water, and earth. And again, watch the previous videos to get more information on those. And in Ayurveda, it basically says that these are the foundational building blocks of the universe. So when they are combined, it is understood in Ayurveda that these elements combine to form the three doshas. Now, these doshas are sort of these energetic characteristics. And everything in the universe, including from the stellar stars to our mind and body, have all five of those elements. But at conception, in yoga philosophy, it's viewed that the doshas are imprinted in us, similar to our fingerprints, we have this mind-body constitution at the time of conception. So the 5 elements get combined in pairs, and they form these 3 doshas, which are the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. So the Vata energy is comprised of space and air, and the Pitta energy is comprised of mostly fire and a little bit of water, and the Kapha energy is comprised of equal parts water and energy, or water and earth. So these are what we're going to be focusing on, is the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. These are the doshas. And how we answer the question of who am I becomes really fun when you get to know what your nature is, known as your prakruti, because the doshas help us to understand the decisions and the questions to ask for what's good for me at this moment. So do you know your dosha? If you know your dosha, go ahead and put it in the chat. We always like to know what energies are showing up today, right now. And mostly it's going to be 2 doshas or 1 single dosha. There's some Kapha, Pittas, welcome, grounded earth, and Pitta, fiery nature. Pittas are the checklist, the doers, the leaders. Wonderful. And then behind the doshas, we won't spend time on this, but there are 10 pairs of opposite qualities called gunas. And these gunas are actually what we use to help balance the doshas. So we'll go more into those in different sessions, but just so you know, sort of the 3 levels are the elements, the doshas, and the gunas. So see, already you're becoming proficient in a foreign language, the beautiful language of Ayurveda. Sanskrit. Okay, so the individual mind-body constitution, known as your dosha, is in 2 sort of different stages. One, which represents your nature, who you were born as, is known as your prakruti. So your prakruti shows you who you are, and this specific ratio, it's not 33.3% each. You have a very unique representation of those doshas. So you may have 70% Vata, 20% Pitta, 10% Kapha. So that ratio is your guide on how to balance. And that's what makes it so fun, is that everyone can be very unique. And that is also a way to challenge us, not to follow, what our friends are doing or coworkers are doing all of the time, but to really start by knowing who we are as an energetic being. So the prakruti is that individual constitution, and then lifestyle happens, right? Life happens, and then we're not always able to stay in balance, get enough sleep, eat the right food. There's too much stress. Life happens, and sometimes we get out of balance. So that state is known as vikruti. So your doshas can be in a temporary state of imbalance, and that's really where we want to operate from. You want to align your stars towards your prakruti, your nature of who you are. But we understand that to deal with any decisions in the present moment, we have to look in our environment, look at the choices we're making, and ask, is this serving me? Is this guiding me towards greater health and well-being? Or is this serving as the beginning stages of dis-ease? And those are the 2 questions, the 2 pathways we take every day with our discovering self-care through Ayurveda. So focusing on today's lesson, food as medicine. Another key term for Ayurveda is Agni. And really this focuses on not just what we're eating. So we're not just talking about the protein and the carbs and the fat and the macronutrients. In Ayurveda, we look at the sub-quantum level, the quantum level of our being, our energetic representation. And how do we feed that? Well, everything is vibration. And how we can bring in those vibrations that we need in the food we eat, or all of the senses that can bring us back into resonance, into balanced vibrational living that's in tune with my own nature. So Agni is key, because it says it doesn't matter really what you bring in. What is really more potent is what we are able to digest. So this Agni or fire is the metabolism. It's the metabolic power responsible for extracting the nourishment and eliminating toxins. So our health depends on proper digestion to fuel our bodies and to create sort of the quality of the emotional state and to heal or connect that mind-gut connection. So when our digestive fire is strong and healthy, we can easily digest food and experiences. And we experience what's known as Ojas. Ojas is the bliss. And it is sort of a characteristic of when we are healthy and thriving. It's an amazing way to look at ourselves. Instead of looking at ourselves as, am I sick? Can we start to look at ourselves, am I strong? Is my Agni strong? And am I exhibiting these characteristics of Ojas? And we'll go through that in a moment. Or do we recognize that we have a weak Agni? Are we starting to feel an accumulation of toxins? So when our digestive fire is weak or irregular, we will not be able to properly digest even potentially nourishing foods. So you can buy all the holistic foods you want. If we have a weak fire, a weak Agni, we will not be able to pull the nutritive value from the food as much as we can, and we'll start to experience the buildup of toxins known as ama. So we keep our Agni strong by eating the proper amount of food, eating the right foods, and managing stress. This Agni, again, comes from all five senses going through our bodies, our digestion, as well as all of the five senses. And then we become aware, self-aware of, is this nourishing me and leading towards that strong Agni at the top and contributing to this experience of the subtle nourishment known as Ojas? Or is it contributing towards that weak Agni, inability to digest our food or mental thoughts or emotions or process what's happening in our life, leading potentially to toxic residue in the physical body as well as in our subtle bodies of the mental, emotional bodies, leading to this buildup of the toxic residue of ama. So there is a quiz. If you want to get to know a little bit more about that, go ahead and you can email me for this quiz. It's the ama and the Ojas survey. And you can email me. I have a new email. It's doshadrops@gmail.com. So I'll just type that in right here. doshadrops@gmail.com. And please just type in, I want that ama and Ojas quiz. Now, ama is the toxic residue. So some of the subtle signs to know, do I have a lot of ama, a lot of this built up toxins? This can be seen as having maybe bad breath, a coated tongue. You might wake up with a white tongue, a different colored tongue. You might feel a dull appetite, or you might have this delicate digestion going on, or you might feel a generalized sense of pain, or experiencing fatigue, maybe depression. Are you susceptible to infections and diseases? And do you have sort of a sluggish or irritable elimination? And maybe do you have difficulties manifesting your intentions? So just jot down if any of those apply to you right now or in general. And Ojas, the nectar of life, this lightness of being that we speak about in yoga. So look for the subtle signs. Are you currently or have you experienced Ojas? Do you wake up feeling rested upon awakening? Is your skin having this healthy glow? Is your tongue pink and clear in the morning? Does your body feel light regardless of your body weight? Do you feel centered throughout the day? Do you feel your digestion is strong without any signs of bloating? And are you feeling a sense of energized and enthusiasm bubbling through? Is your mind clear? Does your body have a pleasant smell? And is it hard for you to get sick? Is it rare for you to be sick? So just type in, are you feeling more Ojas or more ama? Ojas or ama? Where are you right now? Ojas, I love it. People are experiencing some bubbliness, some lightness. Yay! I love it. If you say it in Spanish, hojas, it means pages, right? So let's create more pages of having days filled of lightness of being and health. That's my wish for you. So now let's look a little bit at the microbiome. Oh my goodness. Some people call this the first brain because of how potent this is on the impact, not only to our gut health and feeding our physical body, but by the vagus nerve, how it gives so much more information from the gut to the brain. It's almost like our gut is talking to our brain, but are we listening? Are our tongues too coated that we can't even taste the foods? And so our gut is not able to fully translate or talk to our brain. So let's just look real quick. The microbiome, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a vast colony of microorganisms that inhabit our body. These microbes live mainly in our digestive tract, but also on our skin, in our mouth, everywhere. Most are going to be beneficial for our health. The microbiome helps us to digest our food, regulate the hormones and immune systems. So in your daily life, the choices we make about what we eat can make the greatest difference in the culture of our gut microbiome. So it's really important that by focusing on what we're eating, it's not just what we're eating, but how it's impacting whole systems in our mind, body, well-being, including how we're talking to the brain. In general, we want to favor foods that are fresh, mostly plant-based, and not too much. And we want to avoid foods that are overly refined and processed. Limit the meats, and if you can, reduce or eliminate alcohol and toxic substances. So now the 6 tastes in life are sort of the palette that Ayurveda uses for us to look at food as energies and how we can paint the picture of our diet unique to our current state of dosha balance or imbalance. So the 6 tastes in Ayurveda are sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. So next month, we're actually going to focus more into the details. But for now, the basic guideline is that we believe that in Ayurveda, it recognizes all 6 tastes, that they communicate a unique combination of energy and information to our physiology. By incorporating each of these 6 tastes into every meal, the body is actually receiving a biodiverse, energetic palette. So it's not just the proteins, the fats, and the carbs that we're looking at. It's at the subtle level of nourishment. And this energetic palette supplies the body's cells with instructions. So this energy and information is talking to your cells with the specific instructions to one of these taste categories. In general, the 6 tastes inform the body with the following cellular information. So for the sweet taste, it's talking to your body and it's saying grounding messages. It's sending strengthening, nourishing. The sour taste is communicating cleansing, purifying. The salty tastes are balancing and regulating. And the bitter is about detoxification and mineralization. And the astringent taste is about anti-inflammatory and cooling. Oh, and the pungent, I skipped over that. Think about pungent like the sun. So it's warming and stimulating. So those are the 6 tastes and the basic characteristics. And remember in Ayurveda, we're talking about balancing with the 20 opposite pairs of opposites, the gunas. So we're going to be talking more about that next time. So now let's go ahead and look at looking at foods for the dosha. So in general, Vata, you want to favor the sweet, the sour, and the salty. Pitta, you want to favor the sweet, bitter, and astringent. And then Kappas, it's the pungent, bitter, and astringent. And don't worry if that doesn't make any sense. This is just a real quick intro, and join us again next month and we'll get into all the really fun details. And you want to eat the colors, the phytonutrients and superfoods. So eating from all the colors are going to feed a lot of different energy and information to the cells. So the deep pigments in the plant foods are dense with nutrients. You want to get those and grab the antioxidants. And cooking with color is going to add to the visual appeal, because really we eat with our eyes first, right? So let's look on to some key points for nourishment for body, mind, and spirit. So we want to begin paying attention to your hunger cues. If you're hungry, or if we're just eating because out of habit, okay? You want to eat freshly prepared meals. Engage in all 5 senses and take your time in identifying those. If you can, make sure that your biggest meal of the day is in the middle of the day. That's when our Agni, the fire, the digestive fire, is working the most and is most capable of digesting your largest and most nutritionally dense meal. So that's when Agni is strongest. So you want to eat in a comfortable environment and be present with your food. So including all 6 tastes in all of your meals. You want to also remember your dosha and your primary imbalance. So we want to look at which dosha is imbalanced right now, and how can I very easily, just by adding some simple spices or changing up the ingredients, can I balance some of what I'm eating? So I have a whole list, and I don't want to go through all of them, but if you would like the bits, I have body intelligence. Oh, which one is it? Body intelligence techniques. So there's 10 more ways for you to bring more mindfulness with eating, because a lot of times we tend to eat at the computer, working, or in front of the TV, or maybe even in our cars, right? Who does that? Does anybody eat in their cars? Okay, we need to stop that. So bringing mindfulness to our eating is going to bring us into attention, into those 5 senses. And how many of those senses can we include in the party of exploring and identifying how many of these 6 tastes am I getting in this meal? So can I hear myself eating, crunching? Can I smell the food? Can I see the beautiful colors? Can I touch the food? I love to eat with my hands. And tasting, right? So how many of the senses can we include? So we want to orient our food choices and eating experiences towards the ability to bring more ojas, more bliss in the body. And we want you to have more of those telltale signs of being in that healthy state. So to enliven health, keeping your Agni strong is our number 1 key that we want to look at. So how do we do that? We go to bed 2 hours after you last eat a meal. And to calculate the amount of hours that you need to sleep, most recent research shows that most people need 8 to 10 hours of sleep, or 8 to 10 hours in bed. There's a lot of evidence coming out saying that it's way more than people are getting. People are chronically not getting enough sleep, and that is going to contribute to making not the best choices for us. So sleep is a huge contributor to all of our healthy habits, but also to how we make choices. So to keep our Agni strong, we want to make sure that we go to bed earlier. We go to bed with an empty stomach, so we're not digesting our food. So you're stopping your eating at least 2 hours before bedtime. And then to keep it strong, you want to eat your biggest meal at lunchtime. So see which of those, or if you can start practicing all of those habits, to see if you can start to feel the fuel, the burning fuel capacity in your belly getting stronger so you can pull more of that nourishment out of the yummy plant-based foods that you're going to be filling in your belly. So you want to include all 6 tastes and the 7 colors at every meal. So you can make this a really fun mealtime activity with kids and start to create your own plates with doshas and the colors and all of the 6 tastes. And then learning to eat mindfully is a really important skill for our busy and multitasking oriented society. So I encourage you to become mindful of when are you eating. Perhaps encourage you to stop snacking in between meals to give your digestive fire a break and to also fuel up on water, just pure, clear water that you can bring into your body in between meals, or maybe a nice tea. Learning to bring that mindfulness in. Again, if you want the tips worksheet, go ahead and email me at doshadrops@gmail.com, and I'll send you the 10 tips for mindfulness eating so you can turn into your body. It's amazing what can happen when we pay attention to one morsel of food in our mouth and how we can enjoy it and how we're being mindful about, does it have all the 6 tastes? And then answering the question, does this nourish me? Or is this keeping me on a path towards dis-ease in my physical embodiment, or contributing to not healing emotional or mental states, as a lot of highly processed and packaged foods tend to do with a lot of carbs and a lot of sugars? So be aware and be mindful of what we're eating and how that's impacting us, our physical health and our mental and emotional well-being. So eat one meal in silence this week. Have you ever eaten a meal in silence? If you never have, I encourage you to practice this. If you've ever gone on retreats, that's usually included, right? Where you're sitting by a beautiful lake or an ocean, and to allow yourself to be fully aware of how the environment is an integral part of all of our experiences, including how aware we are and how we're eating and fueling our body. And with this, you can bring in the gratitude practices of what we're observing, what we're absorbing, and also focusing on what we can control. So eating in silence is a blissful experience. So some people are mentioning in the chat, yes, I have eaten in silence on retreats. It can really bring you into this connected state, present, mindful state, which is really where we connect into our bliss, remind ourselves and encourage ourselves to continue to make these healthier, wiser choices on a more regular basis for that whole person well-being approach to life. So those are some tips to take away with just some of the very fundamental ideas on food as medicine. So I want to encourage you to join us next month to continue our conversation on food as medicine as we dive deeper into the combination of the 6 tastes and which of the tastes are encouraged for the doshas and which ones should be reduced. So really, I'd love you to join us on May 12th. We meet on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, so it'll be May 12th, and it's always at 12 noon Central Standard Time. And then in June, we're going to be looking at yoga for your mind-body type. So if you've ever done yoga and it hasn't really been a good experience for you, I want you to imagine yoga to be like a big tree. And there's the main branches of the tree represent some of the main branches of yoga. But within each main branch, there could be 100 different small branches and then 1,000 teachers under each branch. So there's many different characteristics of yoga and different styles. So it can be, a hit and miss for you to find the one that's best for you, what you want to get out of it. So I encourage you to join us in June to explore yoga for your mind body type. And some of the references I've used for our class today include Deepak's book, Perfect Health. It's an amazing book. It's the first one that got me started on my Ayurvedic journey. And then he also wrote a book, Deepak wrote a book, What Are You Really Hungry For? Or What Are You Hungry For? And this speaks to the fact that we're not just eating food to fuel our physical body. There's so much more about our emotions and feelings and how we can feel and connect with this state of connection and fulfillment. So I encourage you to check that out. And then if you're interested in more cooking, one of my first books I got for Ayurveda is this beautiful Eat, Taste, Heal book. And it's a beautiful color book, coffee top book with great information. The first half of the book is about Ayurveda. So if you want to learn about it as you cook, the second half is also great recipes. So I encourage you to get that one. You will look at it for years and continue to learn on it. And one of the newer ones is by Kate O'Donnell, the Everyday Ayurveda Cookbook. So this is beautiful and simple, and it's just a gorgeous book. So there are so many books coming out now on Ayurveda, and I encourage you to check out your library, type in the search Ayurveda or Doshas, and see what comes up. So that does it for me. We're now going to open it up to the Q&A, and I will go ahead and stop the share and turn it over to Brooke. And again, I'll turn it over to Brooke. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie, for another wonderful session. Before we begin the Q&A, I do want to give another friendly reminder that this is being recorded. I will share questions for you. Nothing in the chat will come up on the recording, but if you do not want to be in the recording yourself, just go ahead and keep your audio and video disabled. We do have 2 questions. So I hope for Jay Wingate, they asked the question, can I get suggestions on any books on Ayurveda? And I hope that we already answered that question, but if you have any further suggestions, Maggie, I'm sure they'd love to get ideas.
See my bookcase? I have a ton of books. So if you would like more information, tell me, email me at doshadrops@gmail.com and tell me specifically if you'd like to learn more about the philosophy of yoga, if you want to learn about more cookbooks. There's a few more cookbooks that I've just seen, and also now on seasonal detox and seasonal balancing. Susan Weiss Bohlen, Bohlen, has written some really great current books on it. But anyway, email me for that if you'd like, and tell me specifically what you would like, because there's a lot more coming on. And you can also Google online, and there's a lot of resources now online.
All right, thank you. And our final question before the Q&A is over is from Vicky. She is hoping that you can give examples of toxic substances.
Toxic substances. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, it is viewed that ama is this undigested bits of stuff. That's kind of like the terminology that I've heard most often for it. And ama is just what our body is not able to fully digest. And that is sort of like just sludge or stuff that's just all over your body. It can get stuck in different parts of your body, not just in your gut or microbiome. So this ama can have many sources. It can be from the food. So if we're not eating at the right time, if we're not eating the right foods, if we're eating stressed, or a lot of the other contributing factors like lack of sleep, toxic relationships, or taking in too many toxins, like of course alcohol, tobacco, any of that. So toxins can be actual toxins that we bring into our mind body, including the paint on the walls, the fumes in the carpet, the smell, the smog outside. But also, as we discussed in class, toxins can come in from all of the 5 senses, so including through the ears. So do you listen to toxic conversations? Whether that's mean or hateful or gossip. Do you listen to songs or radios that have toxic conversations that fuel your body to release those chemical messengers that are the same as if you're eating some kind of toxic substance? The same with smell. I design my house now not only with colors and patterns, but with smell, so that I bring in that intention, that vibration with essential oils, with clean environment, reducing toxin in my environment, so that I'm not taking in those toxic fumes through my olfactory system, which directly feeds into, it sends vibrations to the limbic system in our brain. And so that can trigger toxic reactions of emotions and thoughts. And as Deepak loves to always say, that if you're familiar with the chakras, um, in a similar way, we have this connection from our outer environment and our inner environment. And when you're talking about our levels of consciousness, where we're at, Deepak likes to talk about chakras, and he says that chakras are the junction points of where consciousness meets our physiology. So if you're familiar with chakras, are we looking at our food, shelter, and clothing at our root chakra? With food, it could be, daily. Are we looking at how are we grounding ourselves? How we are nurturing ourselves? How are we selecting that which is best for us? So our thoughts, which start as this consciousness, a no thing, can actually come into and be filtered through our mind-body complex and result in a thing, such as an emotion, which then releases a chemical messenger in our body, and that's a thing. It now impacts us on this physical beingness. So toxins can come from all different sources, and the key approach is to mindfully and with self-compassion become better students of our life, to become better at being self-aware, and to learn, who am I as a person, as a human, in my energetic well-being? Once you can answer that question, what dosha is your nature? How did nature nurture you? Now, is your lifestyle also nurturing you, or is it serving as a source of continual stress and likely to trigger some of these diseases? So toxins can come from all different angles, not just food. So I hope that answers that one.
Thank you, Maggie, for this absolutely wonderful session. It has been incredibly informative, and we do have quite a few thank yous in the chat. If you would like to learn more information, you can contact the library at 210-207-2500, or you can visit our website at mysapl.org. Thank you, everyone.